Oh, asante. Asanteni sana Bwana. Amka. Before I came here, I had stay woke. Sit up. I thought this is almost dozing sometimes, because I don't know, or maybe the subject. I saw much more on top of his voice, making register. Mheshimiwa Esther Passaris, si waheshimiwa hapa, Secretary General wa Wiper, Senator Shakil Abdallah. We came a little late, and so we missed out on some of the presentation. Are worthy of to what I've been asked to do. I don't know what. By the way, some of the things are very serious, and I think we'll have occasion to address them separately, because if they fall under chapter 6 of the Constitution, we may have to discuss how a head of state should conduct himself. If you are friends, keep them as friends, because under chapter 6, even when you are given a gift, yani hukutaka niseme hiyo sio. Asante. So let's all really adhere to Constitution 2010 on integrity and the conduct of leaders. When you hear of state capture, it begins with people who say, Esther Passaris, County Representative Nairobi, you're going to give you a free ticket to Dubai. That's how it starts. It can affect also a head of state. It becomes a very serious matter. In my view, some of these are impeachable offenses. But I said I will not. For inviting me to attend this conference at Fungamano House. Since its inception, as I said, in 1966, this center has served as epicenter of significant political conversations and movements by Kenya's opposition, Kenya's civil society, religious groups. By the way, itself, it was the religious groups that came up with the Fungamano, and the student community advocating for constitutional reforms. Well, I came to this university in the mid-70s, early 70s, and I used to be a student at Hall 6, Nile, that we called it the Nile Hall. I know my room, so I can walk up there actually. But I wonder whether it is the same You know, we used to have a university community, and then the male students would go to the box, and they were accused of cockroaching. Some of them found beautiful wives from that place. A community, University of Nairobi, the university. Others came after that. I know some of you went to Kenyatta, you went to Moi, you went, but this was the place, Ufungamano. So, as I talk to you, therefore, in this written presentation, I just wanted you to know we are standing in the midst of political history. And it is good to be at Fungamano. The work of CGW, led by Executive Director Kevin Osido, is genuinely commendable. We commend you for what you're doing. And one of your 6 thematic areas, i.e. devolution and county participation, I've put CGW front and center in addressing socioeconomic and political development issues at the national as well as the county levels in our country. Specifically, the platforms CGW has provided for. I really never like acronyms. They're very difficult things, particularly if these are all consonants. And it's not even a vowel. CGW has provided for public participation, have helped strengthen county government structures, giving citizens a greater say in how their resources are managed and decisions are made. In my opinion, County Government Watch has had and continues to have a distinctive and important voice because of your dedication to improving our society via citizen capacity building, which I think is what you're doing today. It is also not lost on me that this keynote address takes place on the eve of our 61st anniversary of Madaraka. Has it occurred to you? For example, we took the decision that the National Prayer Breakfast event must be on a Thursday preceding Madaraka Day. And I never like to talk about myself, but here I mentioned I was the first chair of the National Prayer Breakfast when we invited Yakub Gowon, the president of Nigeria, to come and speak at that first anniversary. And really, this has grown to be a very important institution. 61 years ago, Kenya had its first genuinely democratic elections. Lower House and Senate, as well as regional assemblies. That time, of course, people remember, younger ones, Majimbo, the call for Majimbo. And our modern name Majimbo under Constitution 2010 is devolution. As part of the constitutional transitional process agreed upon in Lancaster House, this can be considered the first real public participation act by Kenyans, our first woke movement, if you will, where the call for citizens' action was exercised by Kenyans at the ballot. The allusion to the history of Madaraka is both essential and significant, as is the reminder here of the national values and ideals our founding fathers championed when fighting for our right to independence, so that all Kenyans will be free from ignorance, poverty, and disease. However difficult the situation, allow me to send Azimio's greetings to all Kenyans as you celebrate the 61st Madaraka Day celebration tomorrow. On August 27, 2010, we promulgated the Constitution of Kenya 2010 following a referendum on August 4th. Before its promulgation, Kenyans reviewed the proposed new constitution, made recommendations and proposals, and forwarded their views to their respective members of parliament. that the Kenyans from all walks of life were allotted 30 days to engage in the document that would become the supreme law of our country. That was indeed a watershed, woke movement, a watershed woke moment. Some here may even consider this our first genuine citizen-driven legislative action. Significantly, Article 1, subsection 2 of the Constitution empowers citizens to exercise their sovereign power directly. Article 10.2 includes national values, participation of the people. Article 33.1 provides that every person has a right to freedom of expression, which includes A, freedom to seek, receive, or impart information or ideas. Further, Article 35 grants citizens the right to access to information held by the state. Moreover, although Article 94 gives Parliament sole authority to enact laws, Articles 118, 119, 124, 201 and 221 and 232 define public participation in legislative proceedings. Article 232(1)(d) makes it quite evident that, quote-unquote, the involvement of the people in the process of policy making is a necessary public service value and principle. Therefore, we deliberately, as Kenyans, decided to make the issue of public participation a right which nobody can take away from you. Let me now take this moment to address the National Dialogue Committee, bills and the Finance Bill, and my brother Opio Wandai has spoken very clearly and elaborately on that. Let me also remind you that these NADCO bipartisan talks were a result of the sacrifices of more than 76, now we've now heard from Opio, who lost their lives during the Maandamano protests. As co-chair of NADCO, we spent months at the Bomas of Kenya, Nairobi, listening to inputs from the public, also from the executive, from county government, civil society, and religious organizations and the business community. And Fred Okango was able to take you through the agenda items, those 6 points. And of course, our number one concern that time was the high cost of living. High cost of living remains a big issue today. From your submitted proposals, we presented to Right Honorable Raila Odinga and President William Ruto what I truly believe was and continues to be the people's call to action. It then was incumbent on our representatives, the National Assembly and the Senate, to honor their voices by passing the bills without amendments. Even if you were to take into account what Ann Deritu has spoken about, the very useful critique of our thinking about a commission, a regulatory commission, as opposed to a one-person office of the registrar of political parties, which gets interfered with. Truth be said, it will go down in history that when elections were held in August 2022, Azimio Coalition One Kenya emerged the majority coalition. But what happened thereafter? Our friends in UDM were the first ones to fall to executive interference. Well, that executive interference doesn't worry me. What worries me is, what does it mean to the future of this country? I wouldn't imagine myself being a member of UDM and my grandchildren and children's others who remember will be told that you spoiled the party for Kenya. That's a very serious observation. Very serious. Therefore, integrity to political parties was a very key matter. And that's why, Madam Ann Deritu, we know you're a human being. You get a call from a president, and the issue of independence of our institutions, How truly independent are these institutions? That's a question. Even if we enact them, unless you get people of the caliber of former Chief Justice, for example, Maraga, who would say no? While the National Assembly adhered to the will of the people, the 4 bills that the Senate Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights considered in early May had significant alterations. I've just received a call from the minority leader in the Senate. Senator Amboy said he couldn't attend some function I'm coming from because they are there with Stuart Masayo with their eyes open. So there's not going to be some gerrymandering. Is that the country we want to live in? I'm glad that our minority leader, Kilifi County Senator Stuart Masayo, raised the red flag with the Senate Business Committee, and that Speaker Emerson Kingi stopped the process so that the said bills be corrected with what was agreed in the NADCO report and republished for introduction in the Senate. But look at the amount of time we have taken. From November, as Wandaya said, it gives us the feeling, and we know that some of us never like to act in vain. We love this country so dearly that we must call out whoever is trying to take us for granted and taking the country on a ride. Therefore, the 2 principles, my brother Raila Odinga and President William Ruto, have a duty. They say they'll do whatever it takes to whip members in parliament and do something. But we can always see a certain amount of laxity. Therefore, we need this woke moment. And if you don't wake up, citizens, if you don't wake up and you remain as calm as you are this evening, this country will just go to the dogs. Very calm citizens. Well, I'm not asking you to be another buffalo soldier, but I'm telling you, please, the call to action, and for leaders to put action to what they have publicly announced. To be clear, this machination demonstrated a lack of good faith on the part of a sector of the Kenya Kwanza administration. Without our lawmakers' sharp eye for detail, the 4 bills may have passed, which should have been a travesty of immense proportion. As regards the Finance Bill 2024, my sister was here. I really missed out an activist who seems to have been talking to herself, but very deeply. I think you are listening. Even if you don't listen to me, I hope you listen to, was it Damari? Diana. I hope you listen to Diana. Even if you have not listened to anything I've said today, please take into account what Diana told you. It looks to me that this government is so determined to kill the middle class. Now, during my time with President Kibaki, we were very deliberate about growing Kenya's middle class. These are the men and women driving. These are the men and women people are telling, you don't want to pay tax, leave the car at home. Sasa mambo gani haya? We tafakari mambo haya. Do you know it was a middle class who in August 2022, 8 million of them decided, I cannot go to Chakaranda Primary School and queue for the whole day to vote. Now, because you didn't vote, this is what you are getting. I can bet the next election, the number 1 people to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning will be the middle class. They are the ones who are overburdened, overtaxed. But what is even more tragic is after that taxation, instead of helping Mama Mboga and Boda Boda, you're putting it either in your pocket or allowing your proxies or people to go flashing out their wealth from people's taxes. Some others in Parliament, Mheshimiwa Andai even have the audacity to tell Kenyans that we are overtaxing bread because we have realized it causes diabetes, for goodness sake. Honestly. Why don't you tell them? Why don't you tell them? And we are still sitting here. That, by the way, was the cause of the French Revolution. When a certain queen said, why are these people complaining? Oh, they want bread. Oh, if you don't have bread, give them cake. Shows the level of disconnect. So, middle class, you're killing the goose that lays the golden egg. And Kenya is so unique. This is why this country has managed to stabilize. Because it's the middle class which you create the engine of growth, economic growth. But if you bring everybody to the same level, you kill our industries, because no investor will want to look at even these economic zones that Kenya Kwanza have been talking about. People instead go to 10th of Ramadan city outside of Cairo and invest because that the conditions are attractive. No investor. During NADCO proceedings, do not hear appeal that over 6,000 companies migrated from Kenya to Tanzania. That is the hard truth. And how many Kenyans are without jobs? We talk of the youth bulge. If we can actually nurture the youth bulge, we will be able to make this country a Vision 2030 country. That's what we had with President Kibaki, Vision 2030. How many years do we have to 2030? And is Kenya Kwanza going to take us there? They hardly even mention the word Vision 2030. I think it's vision themselves. Going to Harambes, flush out 1 million shillings, 3 million shillings back to the era of Harambee, which is actually stolen money. So Kenyans have to wake up. I'm sorry if I sound emotional about this, because this is one of the values. We say the source of corruption in Kenya was forced Harambees and other Harambees. We can no longer claim, ladies and gentlemen, ignorance. And we must take all necessary actions to safeguard public participation as one of our democracy's core foundations and be able to uphold that promise. We must do now, tomorrow, and always, in the spirit of self-independence. We must reject the apparent tokenism of public participation in favor of true and effective public discourse and engagement that leads to a legislative agenda that reflects the desire of the Kenyan people. Kenyans are feeling despondent. Who will do what for us? You and I feel, must have the bravery and voice to tell this administration that we have the capacity, the dignity, and the right to make decisions and shape our destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our self-governance moment. This is our AMCA Stay Woke moment. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Asante sana, much Your Excellency, for those very deep of where we are coming from, where we are, and where we need to go to as a people. Reminding us about our responsibility, particularly focusing on why we are here and the